Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Tanks Blitz. I'm actually recording this as a tank review of the Glacial 112, actually when I've just come out of the game. I did, unfortunately, just outright get them with gold because I just couldn't be bothered to deal with doing another one of those long mission things that you're supposed to do, so I couldn't be bothered, so I just went and got it. I'm sorry. I know, I'm sorry. But yeah, so this is the direct counterpart to this, the Blaze WZ, because the actual mission, if I show you, that's not what I want, there you go. New Moon, Tame the Dragon, which is the event, and you get to choose either to go for the fire or ice or both. As you can see, there's the tech tree. So start off with 3 standard ones there, and then you've got the fire line leading to the Blaze WZ, and then you've got the ice line which leads to the Glacial 112. So you have to get Dragon Fangs, which are these, and then Lunar Charms, which are those. So yeah, that's that. And the Glacial 112 is just the counterpart to the fire, which is the blaze. Hence why it's called Blaze and Glacial. Self-explanatory. But other than the names, this is actually quite a nice camouflage pattern. In fact, all of the Chinese tanks have actually got some quite nice camouflage patterns on them. For example, the Type 62's got the dragon camo, which is really nice. Then you've got the Glacial 112, which has got this dragon ice-looking camo. As you can see, there's the head leading down to the engine there, and then the Blaze has also got its little camo thing with its really cool gun mantlet, which looks like a dragon. So there's that. So what? How is this in pure stats? Pure stats, it's alright, 60% protection, 58% firepower, 71% shot effectiveness, and 33% maneuverability. 1500 HP is a pretty nice amount. 1400 for the T-34, for example. 1550 for the IS-3 Defender, 1600 for the KV-5 and for the Tiger II. So it hasn't got the most HP, but then again it hasn't got the least amount of HP. What are you showing me? Special percentage off. American football things. So it has pretty good. Oh, I don't want to look at gold. Go away. So yeah, it has pretty decent amount of HP. As for the armor, 120 at the front, 80 at the side, 60 at the rear. The turret 240 at the front, 130 at the side, and 60 at the rear. So the front only 120, but it is sloped, so it's very much in the same respect as the IS-6. We flash up the IS-6 here. Can we have a look? Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, IS-6 only got 100mm, I think, at the front, but it's sloped. So yeah, with the IS-6, it's all about that sloping. And as you can see, that's only got 100 at the front and 150 for the turret. So yeah, it's got a very, very, very strong turret. Especially if you go hull down, things will find it very difficult to penetrate your turret. And the hull is actually thicker than the IS-6, and it's also got a better sloping at the front. As for the sides, slightly sloped, but they're only 60, so side-on people will easily be able to get shots into you. But side scraping is rather effective in this tank. However, if you're like that at an angle on a slope, they can easily penetrate your 120 front, because it's only effective if it's angled, for example, like that, or if you're just going frontally onto people like that. If you counter angle it, which is by going down a slope, for example, and someone shoots you, they'll easily get through that. So that's something to just watch out for. And then let me just convert some free XP. Actually, there we go. So as for the maneuverability, 46-ton tank with a 580 horsepower engine, which means it is slightly sluggish. 28.89 degrees per second. Hull traverse 27 degrees per second. Turret traverse. It's not the most manoeuvrable thing out there with a 32 degree per second traverse speed limit. Sorry. So I mean, yeah, it's not the best mover, as it were. There's the engine that it gets. A whole bunch of numbers with a couple of letters. So 580 horsepower, 12% chance of fire and impact, fairly fire resistant. There's the suspension again, suspension 112. There's the turret 112. 240 meter view range, yeah, pretty good. And then we come to the gun. So it's sort of the Chinese version of the IS-6 in the fact that they've both got the same sort of gun, which is the 122 D25 TA. 175 average pen, 270 heat penetration, which is quite good, with 61 high explosive pen. Yeah, nothing great there. 4.87 rate of fire, so you've got just over a 12-second reload with my loadout, 100% crew gun rammer, and vents, I think. As for average damage, 400. Yeah, it's a 122 gun. You're gonna know about that. 0.41 dispersion, which isn't great, with a 6.5 second aim time, which is very slow, frankly. Oh, I don't have improvements. I'll save off of improvements, but with improvements you can get those down a bit. Indeed, let's have a look. Rate of fire goes up by 0.11, aim time goes down by 0.2, dispersion goes down to 0.40. So yeah. But those are the base stats, and the stats show that it's actually a fairly good tank. It's got a pretty standard Russian or Chinese 122 gun. It's got a little fire thing on the barrel there, bit of fire, which is all very nice. It also carries 45 rounds of ammo, which is a pretty large amount for a 122 if you think about it. The IS-3 only carries 28, so this carries almost double that of the IS-3, so it has a very large ammo capacity, so you don't really need to worry about your ammo load if you miss a couple of shots, because you'll still have plenty to spare. As for equipment, you can fit a vertical stabilizer, which say probably no, you're going to want to let it aim because Hand of Stalin works for Russia, but you don't really have Hand of Stalin for the Chinese. So, yeah. So I'd say maybe hold off vertical stabilizer. Improvements to me seems like a better idea. Plus 5% to all crew skills. Gonna want the gun rammer. Gonna want the enhanced gun lane drive. Wet Amarak and tanks filled with CO2 for plus 50% to fuel tank or Amarak durability, respectively. That's up to you. That's in case you keep getting your Amarak damaged and your fuel tank set on fire. Enhanced suspension to increase your suspension durability, you may want it. Then again, like I said, improved vents is probably more useful. You don't want camo or binos really. You're not supposed to sit still. It's a heavy tank with decent armour actually. And B, it's got a pretty inaccurate 122 on it, so yeah, maybe not go with that. Coated optics, if you can't think of anything else to bung on, but I highly suggest improvements. Spoiler, maybe not a bad idea. It has decent enough armour sloped, and then toolbox is just a useful thing, but really, you're going to want improvements. As for provisions, you've got the standard or improved fuel for plus 3 or 10% respectively to engine power and turret traverse. Then you've got the standard combat rations and improved combat rations for plus 3 or 10% respectively to crew mastery. Then you have the protective kit, plus 15% to protection of crew from injuries, 10% speed and module repair, 20% fire protection and 10% ammo and fuel tank durability. And these all activate automatically permanent throughout battle, so go ahead and put some of them on. I don't bother with them, but you can go ahead and put them on if you want. And then we come to the consumables. Anyone that's seen any of my other Blitz reviews will know what I'm about to say with these, where they're applicable, which is most of the tanks that I've seen, that I've done a review on. So I've gone standard repair kit, first aid kit, fire extinguisher, However, you've then got the engine power boost, 20% engine power for 15 seconds with a 75-second cooldown, and then you've got adrenaline for plus 20% load speed, 10% chance of damaging enemy vehicle modules, with a 15-second cooldown and a 15-second duration and a 75-second cooldown. And then you've got the multi-purpose restoration pack, which does all these three things combined into one. Now you're probably wondering why I go with all three of these instead of each individual one, but or rather instead of going one of these, one of them, one of them. That's because, say you've got the alternative three, which is that, and that. You got these three new slots, and you get your track blown off and you need to get somewhere quick. So you use your multi-purpose restoration pack to repair the track. Then 10 seconds later you get set on fire. What do? You can't put out the fire because you've used your multi-purpose restoration pack. It's still got 80 seconds before it can be used again. So you're going to keep burning, which is why I go with the three individual consumables instead of going with one of them, two of them, because I just prefer the chance that if I do get set on fire, I can put it out, and also repair my track if I need to. But one thing to note is that either side of the driver, so about here and here, sort of this section of the hull and this section of the hull, that's where the fuel tanks are. So if you get hit in the front, it's got a pretty good chance of damaging your fuel tanks, which means that you will get set on fire quite often if you get hit multiple times from the front, because, well, I mean, it's the fuel tank there, so it's pretty easy to hit the fuel tanks if you just aim at the front and you have a good penetration enough gun. So that's just something to note. As for the crew, it's a heavy tank. It's going to start training heavy tank skills. I can't tell you about what you should train on your crew because Blitz does it differently. And actually, as for the ammo, I've loaded 5 heat and 40 standard rounds because, well, sometimes you're going to want to penetrate IS-3s at some point from the front, or indeed anything which has got decent front armor that you can't penetrate normally, so you're going to want some heat. So I've loaded up 5 heat because 400 average damage, 4, 8, 12, 16. I mean, that's 4 rounds, 5 rounds, that's 20. Yeah, I should have known that. But that's an average damage of about 2,000. So even if you use them all on one IS-3, you should still have roughly 1 heat shell left. If not, then you won't have any left. But in which case, that's fine. But yeah, so overall, it's a pretty strong heavy tank. I do quite like it. It's got a really good looking camo on it. It's got decent armor. The gun is pretty good when you get it into a good flanking position, which it's not too bad in. You can run around the map all right. It's not the quickest thing or the most maneuverable thing, but it's got very strong turret and decent armor. That's probably the best thing about it. The gun is all right, but it kind of lacks in penetration. But I mean, yeah. So yeah, the 112. Thank you for watching.